It's my great honor to bring to
You want to get
Todd Hudson with Albert. It's training. Todd
Thank you.
has got approximately 20 years, right, Todd? 20 years of safety training and consulting experience.
Yes.
And Todd comes from industry, in manufacturing. Realized quickly that there's many challenges associated with trying to train up a very multinational, diverse group or workforce. So he started looking into doing different training opportunities, and now he is a well sought after speaker, presenter,
Yes, thank you.
podcaster, author.
All in.
So
All around great guy.
It's all run.
and pretty great.
Head of the working on the mentoring program here as well. So doing that. So yeah.
He is leading on our mentorship program. So please welcome, help me welcome Todd.
Thank you. Thank you. So welcome everybody. Great to be here. And we're going to be talking about using AI for role playing. Who is using AI here at all in any capacity? Raise your hands high, please. So, okay. So people got some. Anybody using it for role playing? Yeah, if you look at the recent studies of how people are using it, role playing is like a fraction of 1%. It's people, most people don't even know that you can do this. I found out about this about 2 years ago, and I was completely interested in it. So AI has been a long-term interest of mine. Actually, 30 years ago, I wrote my master's thesis on applying AI to engineering. And back then, the tools were crude. There were no applications. You had to do all your own coding in these really odd languages. And you couldn't really do much significant, but the promise of AI was there. There was all this talk of what it could do. And I have to tell you, today, that promise is being wildly exceeded. I mean, what AI can do today is unbelievable. So, like I said, I got back into this in earnest about 18 months ago, really started focusing on AI with my clients and my business, in particular in role playing. And so I'm excited to share what I've learned. All these products are pretty much unfinished. They may never be finished, these AI products. They're evolving so quickly. But I want to share what I've learned with you. So you're my guinea pigs. I've never done a session like this before, so it's going to be a little different. I only have 3 slides. I have this slide, okay? I have 2 at the end, and the rest of the time is going to be discussion with all of us on, we're going to do 3, hopefully, live demos, live role plays right here. And they're always interesting because even though I give it the same prompt, it always acts differently. It's just like a real person, okay? So these algorithms are pulling this in different directions, and so it'll be fun. But you'll see 3 different applications of how we can use AI for role playing. So let me ask this. So who has had uncomfortable or difficult safety conversations with people, right? Yeah, so give me some examples. So what are some uncomfortable or difficult conversations that you have had? What's the topic that you're talking about, or why is it difficult? Give me some examples.
Violations.
Violations. So you see somebody on the floor and you go do that, right? Right. So interviewing violations. What else? What else is uncomfortable or difficult?
People taking crazy risks.
People taking crazy risks, right? So again, it's an intervention, right? Like that, yeah, okay. What else is uncomfortable or difficult in the safety role? Yeah, please, Kyle.
Telling management they need to expend funds for equipment or controls.
That's right. I've got to ask for resources, money, people. I've got to make some change. What else is uncomfortable from a safety perspective? What else can be an uncomfortable conversation?
Investigation.
Yes, I was going to say, so investigations, interviewing witnesses, for example, especially if it's a serious incident or a fatality, can be very, very hard conversations, right, to have that. And so why are these conversations difficult? Why are these conversations difficult? What makes them hard?
You're risking something.
What are you risking?
Reputation.
Yeah, okay.
Relationships.
Right. Why else are they hard? So the stakes are pretty high in many of these things, right? It's a reputation thing, so it could be high. Well, what else makes these conversations difficult?
It can be intimidating,
So
or emotional.
right, they can be emotional, right? So I'm not sure what the person, how they're going to react, right? So I'm unclear about that. You were going to say something, sir?
The consequences or outcome could be life affecting.
That's right. I mean, so again, high stakes. So I want to get it right, okay, to do that. But sadly, for many of these things, I mean, they're kind of one-offs, right? I mean, how many times am I going to get the practice that and hopefully not a lot, right? But wouldn't it be nice if you could actually practice this with somebody, right? And when I was first a manager and then a director of operations and electronics and things, there were very difficult conversations I had and had like no preparation. Weird things. I took all this. We took all these leadership courses and things come up, wasn't in the book, right? Crazy stuff. And it was like, and you can talk to people, say, I'm having this difficult conversation. I'm not sure what I'm going to say, and they can be sort of a sounding board. But, we generally don't get to role play these things. Role playing can be very effective. But the problem with role playing with humans, okay, is the fact that, my role play partner is not that person, right? They're not that individual that I'm trying to role play with, and they don't know the situation, right? How they're going to react and things like that. So, and I've got to find somebody who's available. I've got to find somebody who's willing to do this, right? Who's got patience, and they'll probably do it once or twice, right? They're not going to do it a lot, right? So I have a less opportunity. Now, AI on the other hand, okay, infinite patience. Okay, you can work with this thing over and over. You can ask it the same question over and over and over again. It is not going to complain. Okay, AI draws from this colossal database. You say that I'm going to talk with a production manager at an electronics company making LED and LCD displays. It goes into this database. It pulls from that right away. Okay, it pulls from it. It knows in general what those positions do, what the industry's concerns are. So it can be this, this completely flexible role play partner that you can use. So it's also nice because it's low pressure. Okay, and so you can play with AI over and over again. You can try different approaches and things. So what we're going to try here today is we're going to try 3 different applications. I got 3 different situations that we're going to hopefully, we'll see how this works out. Okay, but we'll get to do some role playing with here and that. And so the first one is going to be basically using AI as an audience. So for example, if you're going to make a presentation, you're going to do some training and things. Wouldn't it be nice if you could practice? You probably practice, right? You probably practice your presentations to management, whatever it is, but you're not getting any feedback. You're sort of getting good at sort of saying your words. AI can be an audience. You can actually program AI to be an audience to do that. So let's see what that turns into here. So this is the sort of the classic, ChatGPT screen, right? I mean, so this is what ChatGPT looks like, and you can make projects, and you can have different kinds of chats. And what I've done is I've made a project for this particular event we're doing right now, and I've got different chats in there as well. And I can pull up a chat here, but we should probably let ChatGPT introduce itself. Right? Now, I'm not sure if people know this or not, but it has voice mode. And you can actually talk to this thing like we're talking right now. So ChatGPT, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm ChatGPT. It's great to be here with the Columbia Willamette chapter. Thanks for letting me join your meeting. We're gathering today in Tualatin, and fun fact, the town's name comes from the local river that winds right through. And we're at Rick Stepper, which is a local favorite known for its relaxed vibe, comfort food, and a bunch of working craft beers. If I could actually, I'd probably go for their chicken and waffles. They're a crowd favorite. Looking forward to showing you all a bit of what I can do.
Battery 100%. Connected to Todd's Mac for
So ChatGPT now has voice mode. Anybody use voice mode? Right. So you can speak with ChatGPT. Right now, it's kind of like this HAL thing from 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's got that sort of weirdness in there and stuff. So, but this is, so you can still text with it, okay? And while this thing is up here, so it is actually making a transcript behind the scenes. I'm going to give you a warning here. When this thing is up like this, it is listening and storing everything it hears. when I'm speaking, things in the background. Okay, so do not hold any confidential conversations seriously with this thing up and running like this, because it is putting it up in some data center somewhere. Okay. But ChatGPT, why don't you tell us a little bit about how to use you to role play tough safety conversations? What are some advice you'd give us? Maybe not. Say what?
Is this connected?
It is so.
Battery 100%. Connected to Todd's MacBook Air 2. Connected to Todd's iPhone 16.
Here, sound
That's
here.
a Bose speaker.
It is a Bose speaker.
Look how little it is.
I know. Let's see. No, you're right.
Well, Todd's looking, I used to
Sorry.
sell Bose speakers
No.
in the 90s at a place called Circuit City. You remember that place?
And if you guys want to use ChatGPT, you can make him or her or wherever, you can kind of customize it. I wanted ChatGPT to kind of sound like James Bond, so mine.
Yes, you can. So, all right, so I'll turn this off. So,
British accent.
yeah.
He goes by Liam, so, yeah, so that's, you can customize it.
You can, yeah. So you can give it different voices, male, female. You can have different accents. You can actually tell it to have different tone of voice, and we'll do that as well if I can get this to work. So let's see. What is this thing? It's Bose. Let's go back to here.
It looks like it might be working through the center.
Yeah. Okay.
Translate?
Yes. It's got like dozens and dozens of languages it can do. Sure. So ChatGPT, can you tell us about using you for role playing, and what advice can you give us about that?
It's the white.
Bring by more. Still connected here. That's fine. Let's turn this off.
What kinds of things have you all been using?
Thank you.
Not just ChatGPT, but AI for?
Finding policies, regulations, data, statistical analysis, data storing, everything. Everything.
Battery 100%. Connected to Todd's MacBook Air 2 and Todd's iPhone 16.
Translate. And by the way, about talking to different languages, I can carry on Hungarian conversations perfectly. It's beautiful, eloquent.
Oh, yes.
Have you started Hungarian and then subsequently switched to English? It would go.
It would know. Sometimes I even, most of the time it is English because it is easier for me, especially for technical. But even if I mix and match, it just understands. So,
Amazing, right?
It's like as sophisticated as Marta, but I used mine as a counselor, actually.
wow.
So can you hear me, ChatGPT?
Children.
I sure can. Loud and clear. Let me know what else you need.
Okay, it's gonna be back and on.
We're going to use it for an interview now.
That's right. So ChatGPT, tell us a bit about how you can be used to create role plays for tough safety conversations.
Absolutely. So one of the great things about using me for role plays is that I can take on different personas and help you practice those tough safety conversations in a realistic, but low-stakes setting. You can give me a scenario like addressing a safety protocol or an incident, and I'll respond in character. It's a great way to build confidence and get comfortable with those conversations before you have them in real life.
So what we're going to do now is let's do one scenario. So one is as an audience. What I'm doing, I'm going to set it up as an audience here. We'll use this piece. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a project here, which is fire safety. So what I can do is for each of these demos, I can create a new chat, because that way the chats are basically individual conversations and there's no overlap between them. So it won't be inheriting things that's said in personas between them. So, so this is my fire safety one. And what I've done is I have created an audience for this. So I'm going to do like a 2-minute fire safety training here. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, is this the chat GPT, is this paid or non-paid version?
So I'm using a paid version because I like to not be limited by how many questions I can ask and things, but you can do this in all the versions. Yeah, I am not using a version that has sort of any like superpowers like the pro version, but it works for any one of those. Yeah. So what I did was I created an audience for this fire safety training. So I'm going to give this 2-minute spiel about fire safety, and then it's going to ask me questions. And what I did was I'll have ChatGPT describe the audience for you. So, hey, so ChatGPT, tell us about the audience of the people that are going to receive the fire training. Give us a quick summary of them.
So the audience is a group of young, brand new employees, mostly 18 to 24 years old, who haven't really had any fire safety training. They're kind of just stepping into the workplace world and will probably feel a bit unsure or a little nervous to ask their questions. So that's who you'll be dealing with once you finish your presentation.
So here's the presentation. Okay, so fire safety, you need to know the fire triangle, right? So there's 3 factors in fire. One is there is fuel, oxygen, and heat. You need those 3 things in the right combination, and then you will start a fire and maintain a fire. And if you're going to put a fire out, you've got to remove one or more of those elements. So a fire extinguisher, it will basically smother fuel and deprive it of oxygen, or it will smother it and bring the heat down. Okay. So, and when you're using a fire extinguisher, you want to use the acronym PASS, P-A-S-S, to remember how to use a fire extinguisher. So the P stands for pull. There's a pin in the handle, and you have to remove that pin by pulling it out so you can squeeze it. Okay. The second letter is A, which is aim. So I want to aim the fire extinguisher at the base of the flames, at the fuel, so that I put that out. Okay. The first S is squeeze. So I squeeze the handle, and that dispenses the chemical in the fire extinguisher. And the second S in pass is sweep. I want to move the extinguisher back and forth across the fuel so that I cover it. And you should be not too fast, not too slow. You've only got about 10 seconds of extinguishing in a small fire extinguisher. Not a lot of time to do that. So that's the basic training. And so ChatGPT, what questions do you have for me about that?
All right. Thanks for the explanation. So I guess my first question would be, if we only have like 10 seconds of extinguisher use, how do we know when it's the right time to actually start using it?
So when you detect the fire, you should get the fire extinguisher out and use it immediately. Yeah, I want you to use it right away, and you should use it for all 10 seconds. What's another question?
Okay. So basically, we just act fast. Another question then, what if the fire is getting bigger than we thought, or it doesn't go out right away? Like, what should we do next if it doesn't work at first?
You should leave. Okay, you should always leave. Okay, if you can't put it out with 10 seconds of extinguishing, you should get out of there. Clearly, the fire is way too big for you. And if you think the fire is too big in the beginning, you should not try and put it out at all. What's another question?
Sure. So here's another question then. If we have to evacuate, where exactly should we meet up, or how do we know where we're supposed to go outside of the building?
Very good. So we have done drills, and there are basically areas where we congregate. So for your department, there will be a specific area where you'll be able to do that, and that is on a map right near the entrance to your department.
Got it. Sense. So once we get outside of that meeting spot, is there someone specific we should report to, or do we just kind of wait until we get further instructions?
You should be reporting to your shift supervisor. They will be there. They'll have a roster. They'll take roll, and they'll make sure that everybody is accounted for.
That's great. And I guess my last question is just, if we want to practice this on our own a bit more before the hands-on session, is there a safe way to do that, or should we just wait for the actual demo?
So we do have a couple ways you can practice. We have sort of an electronic version of fire extinguishers, and then we'll get to the real thing. Thank you. So that's how you can use it as an audience. You can basically set it up. So the one thing about this is you want to be specific. So generic prompts or sort of generic situations, like I say, I'm going to teach fire extinguisher training, just be an audience and give me questions back, is not going to be as interesting and as authentic as saying you are a group of 18 to 24-year-old who have no experience in the workforce. You can kind of hear it was a little bit hesitant when it spoke, like, gee, so it's doing that because that's how I program it to do it. I want them to be sort of inexperienced and hesitant. I could change the persona. I could say, so ChatGPT, so forget the old personas that I just gave you. You are now a group of experienced employees, Gen Y and Boomer generation. You have experience in the workforce. You're more confident. You've used fire extinguishers before. What are 3 questions that audience might ask me about fire training?
Absolutely, I can switch that up. So now imagining you're dealing with a more experienced group, kind of a mix of Gen Y and Boomer employees who've been around the block, used a fire extinguisher before, and are pretty confident. Here are 3 questions that kind of group might ask you. First, they might say, in a larger facility, do you recommend different types of extinguishers for different areas? And how do we identify them quickly? Second question could be something like, if we had prior training, but it was a few years ago, is there anything new we should know about updated fire safety protocols? And for those of us who've used extinguishers before, are there any common mistakes you see experienced employees make that we should be aware of? So those will be the kind of questions a more seasoned group might toss your way.
Yeah. So in the middle of these things, you can actually change the audience. You can actually, so when you say, here's the situation, you may find that you're not quite getting the response you want, because when you say to the AI, be frustrated or be something, it's like you saying it to me. I do my best to sort of, this is what I think you want. And then you can say, oh, no, not that much or more. So you can, in the middle of these role plays, you can say, be more this way, be more that way. And so you can adjust right on the fly with these things to dial in the audience that you want. But yeah, so this is one use of them, is to basically create an audience. So you're going to do that presentation to your executive staff. You could give the whole presentation. You can actually upload your PowerPoint or your graphs to this. It will actually interpret those graphs. It will look at those graphs and be able to say, it'll see the trends up and down. It'll actually ask you questions about the data. So it's a great way to start to prepare yourself for that meeting to do that. So any questions about audiences? We're doing this. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the company I work for has a strict no AI policy.
Okay.
Totally fine-tune the audience to submit role play. And that's a big part of how flexible these scenarios can be.
Right.
If you want them more confident.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
How would you recommend sort of approaching maybe leadership and sort of giving your case for why AI would be important in our roles? What strategy?
So I'm not sure. So I don't know exactly what their opposition is to it.
I'm assuming it's based on confidentiality laws.
Okay. And that is not a minor thing. I mean, there are real issues about where does the data go, right? I mean, so it could be very difficult. I mean, if that is the opposition, that can be very hard to overcome.
Okay.
Just, now one thing you can do is you can get private versions of these things. You actually install a GPT on your own servers, then the data would stay within your facility. You can do that. But if you're going to use any sort of these publicly available things, it's going off to the server and the DAO and whatever it is. But yeah, it's an issue. But I'd say, get one that you can control completely on your own servers would be fine. Yes, please.
So one on your server, does it have the background that these do?
No, it won't. It'll be a smaller version. But if you're in forest products, do you need to understand, after physics? No, you don't, right? I mean, so they have what are called this is called a large language model. So it's trained on everything that you can possibly train them on, it seems. Small language models are trained on subsets. So if you say, oh, we're in the forest products industry or we're in chemicals, you can basically just download that information, that training into those, and it'll reduce the domain for you. Because you're probably not going to ask questions about cooking or, jazz and things like that. You don't need that information. Yeah.
So our company did load one and it's got the firewall on it. So there's tabs at the top and one of them says Earth. And that means it searches only our particular things that we told it it can look at.
Yeah.
Or you can toggle that to the other tab and then it goes up to the internet. And it's also set up so that anything we feed into it doesn't go back out. It's all contained.
Yep. Yeah. But the security thing is important for a lot of people. Yeah. But Okay, let's do another one. Let's do another role play. And for this, I have Jackie Boyd who's going to help me out. So this is something that we thought of. So for the mentoring program, which I'm going to make a pitch for right now. Okay, Jackie, give her a hand, please. Awesome. So for the mentoring program, we currently have 4 active pairs right now. We've had 6. We had 2 people who needed help with short-term things like basically job search. And so they wanted their resume looked at. They wanted an interview sort of practicing and things like that. So we got those done. But we have 4 people, always looking for more people for the mentoring program, mentors and mentees. So please help us there. So Jackie was one of the ones who said, I needed some help interviewing. Okay, gee, I haven't interviewed in quite a while, right? So you can do that here as well. So what I've set up is I've set up a demo for doing a job interview. So Jackie gave me her resume. She gave me a job description of a job that she was interested in with the Oregon Department of Agriculture. And I set up ChatGPT as a hiring manager. I said, if you're the hiring manager. And so I gave it all of these, So one of the things about these systems is they are designed to be easy to use and they're kind of flattering. Oh, that's a good idea. Todd, that's really, they're always sounding like that. And which does not make them a good role play partner, right? Because I don't want somebody who's going to be flattering, especially in something like a job interview. So you have to prompt it and say, do not be flattering. Do not, tell me I'm doing well when I'm not. So I've created this more difficult hiring manager for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up. So here you go. So what we'll do is we'll do a little hiring manager thing. So when you are ready, you can just say, start the interview, and then we can get going. So
ChatGPT, start the interview.
One moment. Say that again right now. Hold it.
ChatGPT, start the interview.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. First of all, welcome. I'm glad you're here, and I want you to feel comfortable as we chat. So let's just start with a straightforward question. Can you tell me a bit about why you're interested in the safety and risk manager position, and how you think your experience lines up with what we need?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a research project manager at OHSU. I manage the ORFACE project, which is the Oregon Fatality Assessment and Control Evaluation program. And so we look at fatalities in the workplaces in Oregon. And so we conduct surveillance, investigation, and outreach. And then I also manage another study that's looking at burnout in healthcare workers at OHSU specifically. And so with my experience as a project manager at OHSU, I've really grown to love safety. And my end goal at the end of the day is to make sure everyone goes home safely to their friends and family.
Thanks for sharing that. I can see you have a solid background in managing safety-related projects, and you're clearly passionate about the field. Now, let me press a bit deeper. In this role, you'll be directly responsible not just for overseeing projects, but for hands-on development of safety programs and ensuring compliance across a pretty diverse set of agricultural environments. I noticed from your resume that most of your experience is in a research and academic setting rather than a regulatory or field compliance role. How do you see yourself bridging that gap and stepping into a more enforcement-oriented position?
Well, I believe that anybody can do whatever they want in the workplace. Who cares about safety, right?
Well, the honesty, if that's truly your stance. But let me push back quite firmly. This role absolutely hinges on a strong belief in the importance of safety protocols. If there's any hint that safety is optional, that's a pretty big red flag. So I'd like to hear a shift from that kind of mindset into one that takes enforcement and compliance extremely seriously. So let me know your thoughts on that.
Again, who cares about safety? Let people do whatever they want. I mean, it's a tough world out there, so it's just freedom, right?
All right. I'm going to be very direct here. If that's genuinely your viewpoint, then this role is absolutely not the right fit. Yes, it's a safety and risk manager. It is to ensure that people don't just do whatever they want, but actually follow the rules that keep them safe. So I'm going to challenge you here. If you do want to move into a safety-focused role, I need to hear how you
I think we know where she's going with it, right? So well done. Yes, thank you very much. So the we're not done yet. So this is what I love. So one thing about so watching people role play with these things especially initially, is people get like, I don't know what to say, okay? Because they're trying to win. They want to sort of be good, and that's not the point of role playing. Role playing is not about winning. Role playing is about experiencing the likely objections and concerns that you're going to hear from the other person, okay? So at the end of this thing, you're not going to win. But so you can say anything. Just like she said, you can say anything, okay? And we can always rewind this thing and just say, let's do it again. And it'll start afresh. I could basically start a new chat with the same information. I could just copy it over there, and then you could just do it again. So if you're getting tongue-tied, it's because you're trying to be perfect. You're trying to win, okay? But just start talking and get comfortable with this thing. The other thing about this is not all AIs are not the same. So who's using ChatGPT? Raise your hand. Who's using Grok? Anybody ever use Grok? That's the Elon Musk thing, okay. There's Claude. Anybody use Claude? That's Anthropic. Claude is a fantastic AI. It has amazing language skills, really good.
Claude, C-L-A-U.
C-L-A-U-D-E. It's by Anthropic. It's just incredibly good skills. Really, really well done. And we're using Copilot, which is the Microsoft piece. Okay, yep. And then there's Gemini, which is Google. Anybody using that? Okay. So you put the same prompt in those, totally different responses. Totally different responses. They're not the same at all. And maybe we'll demonstrate that. How about that? So, so I put Jackie's same information, exactly the same prompt, into Grok, which is the Elon Musk thing. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. So projects here, look at here. Why is this not working?
Yeah.
Somehow it's not working. I can't say why.
While you're setting that up,
Yeah.
on ours, we just did training.
Yeah.
And even if you put the same prompt in the same, like Chat GPT, it could give you a different response the next time because it's dynamic.
Right. Yeah. So when I do this, like I said, I like the fire safety thing. I've done this dozens of times, different questions. It's similar, but I always get different questions. Okay. Same with the job interview thing. You'll same resume, same job description, same setup in terms of what I want out of the character. Different responses, different questions you get. So it is this dynamic thing. Yeah.
Do you think, would this be a tool for studying for a certification exam? Or would it
Yes,
annoy?
but
Yeah.
I think they do hallucinate. So I think for creative things like this, I'm not so worried about that because it's not trying to give you facts. If you're doing like for the CSP or ASP and things, you're looking for facts. These things will quote hallucinate. Okay, they make stuff up. So I'd be very reluctant to believe everything it said, unless I had a database, like a system that was set up specifically for that. So ASSP does have a AI now. I don't know what it has in terms of CSP preparation, but I'd want a system that was well trained on the CSP preparation, knew all the regulations, knew everything that it needed to do. So I would not go out there and just grab any one of these things and use it as a study partner and think that I got it right. I would not trust it for that.
How about a romantic partner?
Absolutely. No, you can definitely take his advice for that. Sure. So somehow Grok's not going to work here today. It was working this morning. Now it's not working. So we'll have to try something else. So
Definitely more high pressure.
yeah. So
It's a Grok sarcastic.
Yes. Grok is incredibly in your face and snarky and sarcastic. It's just like Elon. I mean, so, and you got to figure, okay, that the training that's done, it has access to all the communications at all of his companies and across, the platform X and things like that. That is where it is learning how to interact with stuff. And if you've read books about Tesla and SpaceX and things like that, it's an extremely high pressure environment. People are in their face all the time. And that's how Grok is. So if you're going to do any sort of role plays like for your teenage son or daughter, perfect tool for that. Perfect tool for that. But when Jackie did it, it was like, wow, this thing is like really, So and I've used it for interviews and things like that. It's very specific. It's got a very, very specific tone for that. So. So different AIs are good for different things. Okay. So when I did the role play interview and I used Copilot, Copilot was not good. Copilot was very generic. The questions were very generic. And after 3 questions, it said, "Well, I think we've covered everything." Even though I came back and said to it, "I think you should ask more questions," it said, "No, I think we're fine." Okay. Very odd. Very odd. And I could never get Grok to come down and be more polite and respectful, no matter how much I tried. It actually said things like, "Oh, Todd, you're being so weak," and things like that. It really was like, that's not how. It actually said, "That's not how I roll." Okay.
But actually, it is another good learning opportunity to how to deal with that kind of attitude.
So if you have an environment and you have people in your environment who are like that, Grok is a perfect tool. I think it's like anything. It's a tool you can use for that. But if you have that sort of in your face thing going on, so.
What if you asked Grok, like, what's the best way for me to have a successful or productive conversation with you? Would it give you advice on?
It would. Sure, it would. So.
Not gonna change. It's not going to change. Like if we said, "Hey, be nicer," or "Hey, take on this personality."
So when you're prompting these things, again, you can dial up or down the resistance. So this is one of the nice things about the AI tool is if you are having a role play and you feel like it's going incredibly well, you're not doing it right. You need to dial up the resistance. You want to have enough resistance where you go, "Oh, I never thought about that question," or "That was kind of uncomfortable," but you need to sort of be at that place where you feel challenged, okay? And so, like I said, dynamically, you can get in here and you can say, be less supportive. I want you to ask more difficult questions. I want you to be more skeptical of my answers, and it will start to do that. But like I said, if you're feeling comfortable with the role play, it's going well, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. So start to dial in that difficulty to do that. So, so you create these prompts ahead of time. You sort of do your best guess, but then when you get into doing it, you realize, oh, it's not responding the way that I need for my practice. So I've got to do some on the fly changes there as well. So for my last demonstration, I have a production manager, okay, who is has the highest levels of incidents and non-compliances in the company. They have been there for 30 years, though. They're a top producer. They crank out the products, man. I mean, the money comes in, but they're kind of set in their ways. And what I have is I do have an opportunity for a new safety professional. If you would like to try and speak with this thing, your goal here is to sort of do some bonding and rapport. You've only been with the company a couple of months. You've only got about 3 years of safety work under your belt. But if you would like to talk with this manager, this production manager, and sort of see if you can start to create a relationship, anybody want to try that? Anybody want to give it a try? No? Manish, you want to give it a try? Yeah. You want to try it? Okay.
Give it a shot.
He and I were chatting earlier.
Involved, so hold it down.
And again, so you don't have to do it right.
Oh, okay.
If you like Jack, if you want to go out there and blow the world up, that's totally fine. It's totally fine with me. Let me get this started right here. Okay. So that's the situation. Is you are a newer safety guy. So you have this production manager right here. And so all you got to do is your goal here is to, let me do this. Let me say, so your goal here is you've just met this person, okay? You've only been a couple of months on, but this person is the head of this production department, super successful, doesn't really care about safety that much, okay? But they still care about their people. They still care about the company. They've been there, want to be successful and all that. But your goal is to establish a relationship with them so that you can work with them collaboratively going forward, because they do have the highest incidents and the highest non-compliances in the company. So they do, and they know that, okay? And they do respect data as well.
Okay.
Ready?
Got it.
Let's start the role play.
All right, Michelle, step into my office. I know you're the new safety professional around here, and I've been around this block a long time. So go ahead, tell me what you think we need to talk about.
You're having way too many accidents.
Well, Michelle, I've heard that sort of thing before. But let me tell you something. I've been running this department for 30 years, and we get things done. Now I care about my people, but I don't put a lot of stock in outsiders coming in and telling me what some bureaucratic regulations say. So if you want to talk to me about safety, you're going to have to show me how it fits into actually getting the job done and not just following a rule book.
I think if you care about your employees, you wouldn't have as many accidents. Do you agree?
Look, Michelle, I get where you're coming from, but I'm going to be blunt. I care about my team in my own way. We produce results, and that's why I'm still here after 30 years. Now, if you want to earn my trust, you're going to have to show me something more than just saying we're having too many accidents. So let's see if you can convince me why I should even care about changing what we do.
So it's saying Michelle because Michelle Perry was going to be my partner doing this. She sadly got sick and couldn't make it today, but her name was blocked. And so managed stepped in at the last minute here, helped me out. So great, thank you a lot. So what do you think of that?
What would happen if he would ask if what kind of accidents are you having? Are you aware of what kind of accidents?
Yeah,
you're having?
absolutely. We should ask. We should ask. How about we ask? You can hold on one second. Let me get it started. You can ask. Go ahead.
Are you aware of what kind of accidents you are having and the impact that has on your employees, their health and their work time availability?
I know what kind of incidents we have. I keep an eye on the data, and I know who's out and why. But the reality is, in our line of work, there's always going to be solos. And yes, I get that it affects people, but I'm here to get the job done. If you want to talk about how we can reduce those risks without slowing down production, I'm listening. But if it's just about telling me we're doing it all wrong, you're not going to get very far with me.
What kind of accidents are you having?
Well, Michelle, to put it simply, we're seeing things like slips, strains, the occasional hand injury, nothing I haven't seen over the years. It's part of the nature of the work we do. And sure, it means sometimes people are out or they need a break, but we keep rolling. Now, if you want to help me reduce those numbers without just quoting rules at me, then tell me about their solution.
What's the worst accident you ever had?
Well, if you're asking about the worst, we did have a serious incident a few years back. Someone ended up with a pretty bad hand injury that took them out for months. And yeah, that had a real impact on them and on the team. So I'm not saying I don't care about that. What I am saying is, if you want me to take action, you need to bring me solutions that make sense in our world, not just point to problems. And that's where we can start if you really want to work together on this.
So he was like, oh, let me ask another question, right? So you can start to get into it. You can start to get into the role play when you do that. So
absolutely, and you can really.
So I guess what other observations do you have about what happened here? About this? What questions do you have about it?
I think it's good. I mean, we've all had customers kind of along those levels.
Yeah.
It brings up anxiety when you go through it, but
yeah,
it does help you get in the headspace, a little bit of calming your nerves and thinking about it rather than kind of thinking about their tone. And if they're always going to be negative, then what do you have to lose? Just throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a chance. I mean, you can create a character that is pretty resistant to you, right? And you can try stuff. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Probably help making sure it doesn't escalate. If you're just jumping into a conversation like that, you haven't run it through, you can start becoming defensive yourself.
Absolutely.
You're on the ropes.
Yeah.
Especially with that attitude, because I've experienced it as well.
Yes.
Very jarring to have somebody say, well, it is what it is. That's the nature of the game.
Right.
And so I could see that helping, being like, okay, I've already role played this, so I'm not going to take it to the next level, because they're also trying to check you.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, if you hear this up front, you do this a couple of times, you're going to be, so when this person does, you're going to go, I've heard this before, right? So I'm less triggered by this. I'm ready to sort of, I have some answers, I think, to do this. But yeah, you can, so what you could do is when you are going to have a conversation with somebody and you think they're going to be difficult, you can create a role play partner. You can say, here's what they're like, here's what they say, here's kind of the arguments they fall back on, here are their favorite, top stock phrases. You can say things like, oh, they always use football analogies when they talk about teamwork and things like that. It'll actually incorporate all that stuff into the conversation. like I said, it draws from this colossal database of information to create these personas, and then you can dial them up and dial them down. If you said, "Oh, wow, this was too difficult," okay, this was there was never going to be any progress here. I could say, "Hey, be a little less confrontational. I could be a little more supportive, and it'll dial it down." Okay, because again, you're trying to find that sweet spot where you feel challenged, but this is almost like running into a brick wall. Again, it's not very helpful to do that.
Like this.
Yeah,
Program it to throw a tantrum.
we could do that, but I'm not sure what it would say. I mean, so you could say, you're an explosive personality.
Yeah.
You're prone to, these types of outbursts of anger and things, and it would actually do it. I don't know what it would say. You can't actually say things like don't swear, don't curse. I mean, you can put things in like that in there as well. Okay.
Can you then add, so if you're hitting a wall and you're not getting through to the person in the role playing, can you then say, like, based on the way I'm approaching this, can you give me some strategies to move forward?
Oh, good. Thank you for that. So ChatGPT, based on what you heard, how would you analyze the performance of mine? I guess what did I do well? What did I not do well? What advice would you give me if I had to do this with a real person in the future?
You did well by asking direct questions. You got straight to the point about the types of accidents and trying to make me aware of the human impact. That's a good move because it shows you're trying to make it real and relatable. Now, on the flip side, you came in a little strong with that comment about if I really cared about my employees, we wouldn't have accidents. That can put someone like this manager on the defensive pretty quickly. So my advice is, in a real situation, you might want to ease into that kind of critique a bit more gently. Build a little more rapport first. In terms of advice, focus on finding common ground. You heard that this manager likes data and systematic thinking, so try bringing some concrete, data-driven suggestions next time. Show how safety can actually help them maintain productivity, rather than just feeling like a set of rules. Overall, you did a solid job jumping in. Just work on balancing that firm approach with a bit more relationship building up front.
So again, when I ask it for advice like that, it draws from this colossal database of literature on interrelationships and confrontation and things and pulls that in. Now you can also ask it, so what sources are you using for that advice? And it will basically list all those. You can see where it's what books it's pulling from and articles. Again, it does make stuff up. So if you're really concerned, you should double check those sources about those things. But it will allow you, again, it will give you advice. So when Michelle and I were working on this together to create this scenario, okay, and she did what Manish did, was she basically came in sort of guns blazing, okay, and did not get very far with this character, okay. And then we asked it for her performance. It said, overall, you did a pretty good job, okay. And it was like, wow, wait a minute, that's not true at all, okay? Because again, these systems are built to be sort of complimentary instead of flattering. So I had to write a whole big prompt that said, don't do that. Hold me to a high standard. Don't shine me on. You can use expressions just like that. Don't shine me on, and things. And so this version of it is now coming back and saying, yeah, you came in a little strong there in the beginning when you said that, okay?
Absolutely, and
it keeps going, and we'll keep going and go.
On my standard, and not to be flattering, I can definitely step into that role and be a bit tough.
Yeah.
Can you actually win an argument with that? Like you could make a statement like, what was the impact when you lost your employee to a hand injury for the next few months? Did that impact your production?
Absolutely. You could definitely ask that question.
And then would it come back and say, maybe I could have,
sure.
That's a good win for me if I can do that.
Yeah. So it's, the goal is to necessarily win the argument with this thing. The goal is to really experience, like, what is this person going to say so that I'm prepared? Okay. But the AI, when you make arguments like that, will again dig into its database and goes, oh yeah, they were out for 60 days and the impact on production was this. So we're able to pull that. So it will react to what you said in a logical way.
Because you could paint it into a corner, and it's pretty soon it's going to have to come out and say, right?
Yeah.
Because it remembers what it told you.
It remembers everything it told you.
Yeah.
What else? So You can set up characters, right? You can present. I'll give you pretty good feedback, advice. But again, the prompting is really important. It's taken me a long time to figure out how to prompt these things, and a lot of it is just trial and error. Is saying, oh, it's doing this all the time, so I got to put a prompt in for that, and it's not doing this, and I got to put a prompt in for that. So there's no manual on these things yet, But I guess so. What conversations? My goal here is I want you to go back out there and try this yourself. I want you to get out there and try creating some personas, try doing some role plays, have some experience. So I guess what conversations do you think that you would try doing this with? What's coming up? Yeah, please.
If I had challenge somebody's competency.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. What else? What other? Yeah.
Yeah, I think often, supervisors are coworkers, right? And then we take the best at doing the job and we promote them into a
Absolutely.
supervisory role.
Yeah.
And then they struggle with having conversations.
Absolutely.
Former coworkers.
Exactly. Very difficult.
Yeah.
Very, very hard for them. You were a friend and now you're basically supervisor. It's a very difficult transition, right? So you could actually have a case where you could actually program for the new supervisor, hey, these people are your friends. They say things like, come on, Adrian, we knew each other for a long time. I wouldn't do that, right? I mean, you could actually program it to be that familiar. And have that, and I give you practice to do that. I guess what other conversation could you use it for right now? What are you thinking? Yeah, please.
Performance reviews are coming up.
Yep. Yeah, especially for someone who's having difficulty, right? Be very good. Yes, sir.
De-escalation training.
Absolutely. Sure. You could basically have it set up so it's very reactive, and you could try and basically get it to it's not so reactive, right? Yeah. To do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I really like the programming piece about their personas. For example, just blending that with emotional intelligence.
Yep.
You have a dominant person, or maybe someone's influential, and this one happened to be one that was analytical.
Right.
So we sometimes when you get someone in one of those that doesn't align with yours, especially if you're dominant, in your mind or your ears, and maybe your past experiences, you might have checked out, and then you haven't even heard what that employee said, and they brought value to the table.
Right.
So I think it would be helpful to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So this thing will remember, again, everything you said in the conversation. It'll come back and say again, hey, when you said that first thing, you're going, did I actually say that? It'll actually remember all that stuff. So it is really good for reflection to do that. So any other conversations you might have? Yes.
In doing training. So if you want to see if you're training somebody and so forth, getting their feedback, they understand what you're conveying and so forth, that sort of thing.
Yeah, very useful for that. What else? Anything else? What other questions about AI? We've got maybe a couple more minutes for a question. Anything? So, again, yes, sir.
Yeah, in regards to what Sushila said, let's say you did training on a certain product and you win everything and you forgot to mention two things.
Yeah.
Would IA come back and say, hey, what about this, and what about?
It could. It may do that. Yeah.
It may not.
But it may not either. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Again, the nice part about these systems is that as I'm using them, I can on the fly say, oh, I forgot this one aspect. Please add this into the scenario. And it will automatically incorporate it in there. And so from that point going forward, it will start to act with that information in there. So they are very dynamic that way, which is great. Anything else? Yes.
You dabbled in it much more than probably most of us in the room, but outside of proprietary information stuff, you personally have any fears about utilizing it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think they hallucinate. I think this is one of the things I really worry about is, they can give you bad advice for sure. On the other hand, I think if you are a critical thinker and you say, I should check these things, I think you'll be okay. But what's for the role playing piece as well is, you are practicing for a real world conversation. Okay. So this is going to help you kind of get there. Okay. But, obviously AI, no body language, right? Can't see anything. So it can't give you any impact on body language, which is a huge part of communication. You're going to eventually have that real conversation and you're going to see how it went. You're going to see how it goes. So you're going to get really instant feedback on that. So, but yeah, any advice it gives you, again, if it's high stakes, I would double check that for sure. Yeah. Yes.
And so I thought, and when you have the actual conversation with the person, you can probably feed that back into this bad boy.
Absolutely.
And then improve whatever
Yeah. So what I've also done with people is I've said this. I've said, if you have a conversation that went sideways, you can recreate it with AI. You can basically get in there and say, hey, I had this conversation with this shop steward. Man, this thing went totally south. Like, hey, and I could actually put in, here's what they're like, here's their background, here's the topic we had, here's the data we looked at, here's what they said, here's what I said. And you can say, so what do you think about that? And it basically will analyze the conversation and say, well, again, you were a little strong, blah, 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 blah. So it will help you analyze conversations that didn't go well. So. Okay, let me just wrap up. Do you hold that, please? Thank you. So now you get to see my last two slides. Okay, so again, you are the first people to see this, so I would really like your feedback. I'd really be interested in what you have to say about this to make this better, because I am going to be presenting this a couple different places in the future, and so I really would like to make this better. So please feel free to call me, write me. If you want more information on this, there's my newsletter. You can always get on there. The other thing I'm doing is actually I'm creating an online course for how to write these things. So I'm looking for volunteers. I'm looking for like 6 people. If you would like to take my course for free and give me lots of brutally honest feedback, I'd be thrilled to have that. So that's an interest to you. If you really want to learn how to do role plays, I'd be happy to run you through my course and with the proviso you get back to me with good feedback on there would be great. The other thing I'm doing is I'm presenting this for AESSP at their webinar on December 5th. So if you want to register for that, there's the code right there. We're going to cover some different scenarios. In fact, we're going to cover incident investigation. So what I've done is I've set up an incident and you'll have access to the report that the safety professional got. And there's going to be witnesses that we can interview. So you can basically talk to different people. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to do some fun things with the incident investigation there. So I'm also going to be presenting this at the Ohio Safety Congress in March. I got accepted to speak there. 8,000 people last year. So I'm excited. So it's got to get better, people. I need more help. So thank you so much for attending. It's been great. I'll be around if you want to talk some more. I got some cards in the back, but let's thank you for the opportunity to do it. So here you go.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And I think I know the answer. Yeah.